Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Audacious Confidence Show. I am your host, Alicia Curry, the Red Carpet CEO, and I am here to influence, educate, inspire, and entertain you so you can step into your own audacious confidence and be more, do more, have more. And so I really want you to know how to step boldly in the direction of your dreams and live the life that you desire to live. Today, I am not going to waste much time in getting my guest on because we have a lot of huge topics to unleash on you. We know her. She's been here before. She's been on our Women Unleashed show, Miss Lataye Davis. She is a business and lifestyle strategist. And let me just tell you a little bit about Miss Lataye. She believes anything can be solved over a slice of red velvet cake and sweet tea. Can you tell she's from the South? The South here in the United States. She's a military veteran, expert speaker, author, mother, and fitness fanatic. Her desire to elevate her life as well as others has positioned her as a thought leader and mentor to many entrepreneurs as well as community leaders. She's created an impressive platform of female entrepreneurs with Global Girls Digital Media, which provides branding and digital services. She has a podcast, but I want to really highlight her service. She is an Army vet. She's led, inspired, and helped heal military personnel, family members, and government employees while serving at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, the White House Medical Unit, and the Pentagon, just to name a few. She currently serves as the only United States of Women representative for the state of Mississippi, and her platform is geared towards voter education, to improve voting participation, as well as keeping residents informed on issues which will affect them. She also seeks to edify and educate the Black communities via her new podcast, The Brown Collective. She was a drill sergeant, so you know she's no nonsense. She's the author of 7 Sins of Social Media, Change Your Approach to Increase Engagement, and The Power of Words, Affirmations to Promote You in Life and Business. She's a co-author of 2 books, which includes the Brilliant Awakening Anthology, and has 2 books set for release later in the year. I want to welcome back as one of Dramaniac's premium influencers here on Dramaniac TV.
What it do?
Lataye Davis.
I feel like I'm on American Idol. I hear it.
So, lady, we have a lot of heavy topics we're going to discuss tonight, but we're going to do it as we always do, with some humor, with some fun. There are going to be some big topics. Hopefully we won't get into a battle.
No.
Because I don't know if I could stand up against you, lady.
No. I don't think we'll do any battles.
No.
I think it'll be growth, right?
It's growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And everything we're going to talk about tonight, we kind of touched on the phone, and we did have some differences of opinion, or at least some understanding of each other's point of view that had to happen. And so it'll be really exciting to kind of dive into some of those topics. And first of all, our first segment today, we are going to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement, because I really believe that there's still some misunderstanding about what is actually happening. Yeah. So what is the BLM movement?
So the BLM movement actually started out of a hashtag. So I first want to say that I am not like an ambassador for the Black Lives Matter movement, because really there isn't any centralized leadership. And I think that's actually what makes it
organic.
Yeah, it's so organic, right? And I feel like that's what gives the average person like me or you the confidence, right? And the courage to say, wait a minute, I'm going to get these folks together, because that didn't look right. It didn't feel right. It didn't sound right. And so it was started in 2013, right after the acquittal of George Zimmerman, of course, with the tragic death of Trayvon Martin. And so, throughout the years, even before 2013, it probably was going on, but that was just like wait a minute, this is a teenage boy, this is a grown man. And so from there all the way up to now, we see this, I think the pot boiled over with George Floyd, right?
Yeah.
And I really believe that the death of Ahmaud Arbery, people were already, because of the visual of that, right? Of this
Mhm.
young man being circled,
Yes.
this man being chased. And then you have George Floyd, and it was just like everybody was like, okay,
This is enough. This is
yeah,
enough. Is enough. Is enough.
yeah,
And I just want to say hi, Alicia. Thank you
yeah,
for saying
Alicia.
hey. Um, you know, the thing way back, well, not way back, it wasn't even that long ago with Bring on the Fight.
I never said hetero man.
with Zimmerman and Trayvon, these women had gotten together and said, what is really going on here? Do our lives, do our young men, do our boys, do their lives even matter? It doesn't seem like it matters. Like he could just be gunned down and no consequences. So, and that brings me to a topic that we discussed
Yeah,
about how how do I bring this up? We discussed this topic about being real and honest in our community about who we are when things happen.
yeah,
Because even we see it now, even with George Floyd, where people are quick to point out, well, he's not a saint. They're trying to make him into a saint, but he was in prison. He did this. He did all the bad things that he did. And the same thing with Trayvon, all the things that they did um, comes to light. And in my opinion, and this is where we had our little discussion, in my opinion, when we as a community try to make the person into, like, say all these wonderful, amazing things about this person, it gives the opposition an opportunity to change the narrative and say, well, wait a second, they weren't this and they weren't that, and they did this and they did that and everything. And so then our message is lost. The Black Lives Matter and this person's life matters is lost in the debate over, the
okay,
character of a
yeah,
person versus the injustice.
yeah. I think, I think that, when I think about my nephews and I think about my brothers and my cousins, and I think if they had lost their life the way that Botham John or Philando
And
Castile,
any of them.
any of them had lost their lives, I don't think I probably could, because I think that what happens is, so with the community, right? And they say, okay, George Floyd is being made into this martyr. But I just don't think that in any community, we as family, I'm never going to get on TV and say, well, my brother did steal a lollipop or whatever, whatever he may have done or may not
Right.
have done. I think though that systemically that's always going to happen, because something has to make the victim somehow culpable in their own
In their
death
own
or in
death.
their own
But you
mind.
don't really see that happening in the white community, though.
I think that it happens with rape victims, though. So I think that the
Rape
difference
victims, yeah.
I think that what it is that I think there's almost a different level of crime. And when we talked about this, Alicia, before off camera, I thought about it and I said, I think that this inner city, the community crime and who commits it, I really believe that it's really equal. I don't think that black people commit more crime than Hispanics or white. But I think that what happens is it seems as if we do, because our charges and then our sentences are so much harsher. So then what happens is you have people who are speaking and saying, wait, this person did this person did this. Well, why is their sentence harsher? And I told you, I don't think that the black community made George Floyd officer who had his knee on his neck and had his hands in his pockets and had that smirk on his face and looked like, okay, what are y'all going to do about it? I can guarantee you that that picture will forever be embedded in history. I think at that point he made him a martyr, is what I think, you know. But
Yeah.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I almost feel like though they're like two separate situations, but we still do have responsibility in our communities. Everybody does, is to, you know. But this man was actually there working. You know, he was there to work. The college students in Atlanta, they were trying to
Mhm.
get out of the crowd, and the poor boy was tased twice. Young girls tased. You know, there was no rap sheet that rolled up behind them.
Yeah.
You know, these cops actually slashed their tires to stop them from driving off. Philando Castile had a permit for his weapon and said, "Hey, I have a weapon in my car, but I do have a permit." Sandra Bland was just like, "Why are you even carrying it this way?" We've seen police officers pull women now, even out of their vehicles, and slam them to the ground. So I
Yeah.
think that their history is one thing, and I don't think you know, when an officer pulls somebody over, um, initially, I don't. Yeah, I think the concern with the Lives Matter movement is not that it's about your history; it's about your skin color. And so when they pull you over, your skin color dictates, depending on who that officer is, right, and their mindset, how you're engaged. So
Yeah, and I do want to say this is not a show about bashing the police or in any
yeah,
way. This is
yeah,
not, it's really what we're trying to do is really raise awareness for what is happening. And I would say that the one of the best descriptions that I've heard actually was from my 12-year-old son. And he didn't make this up. He got this from somewhere else. But when he said it, it made a lot of sense to me. Um, when he said, if you have a street with a neighborhood of houses and there's a house on fire, the fire department's not going to come and start wetting the other houses and leave that house to burn down. The fire department is coming for that house. So the Black Lives Matter movement is that house on fire right now. It is, we're all together in a neighborhood. So all of us, whites, Hispanics, blacks, everybody, no matter what your race or ethnicity is, we're all together in this. However, there has been so much injustice that has gone unrecognized, or at least the Black community has been marginalized in a way that the house is on fire. And the Black Lives Matter movement is really a cry for help. Let's pay attention to this house that's burning down right now, and not that all of us in the neighborhood don't matter. We do, but right now this is what needs to be paid attention to.
and you know, I think that we have to be honest too, right? And I think that in being honest, and of course not speaking for Alicia, Patrice, or Opal, the women who started the whole Black Lives Matter movement, the hashtag, and then really pushed it. I think we just have to be really honest about, you know, because I think we're the only ones that sometimes are apologetic about history. We have to be honest. You know, when I watched Ava DuVernay's 13th, which is absolutely an
My daughter
amazing,
and I want to go want to see it. We haven't watched it yet.
amazing, right? The way that systemically people of color have been held back from enjoying the liberties, the profitability, the prosperity, and the growth within this country is insane. So I don't know if the Black Lives Matter movement is about a cry for help. I don't think that's it. I think that it's like, look, okay, you took our rights, right? And we had
Hmm.
to fight for those. You took our right to vote. We had to fight for those. And even when the Voting Rights Act was passed, states still they still had the option of whether they could let you vote, right? So I'm not going to go through 13th. I think it's an amazing uh,
Hmm.
a story of showing how a marginalized the Black community has been throughout history. But what I will say is, I think that what we're seeing with the Black Lives Matter movement now is only a snapshot of what is really going on within the communities with people of color, whether it's with state aid, and it's this tapestry, really. I think that when we talk about police brutality, and within our community, I think it's just a snapshot of other brutalities that we probably have become used to and accustomed to, that just don't make sense, whether it's through hiring,
Just
housing,
desensitized.
pay, and
Well, the wage gap is definitely, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later about the pay gap and everything. But you're absolutely right. And the fact that it's not just happening in the United States. So when we're talking about history, it's not just happening in the United States, so it's a global
sure is.
awakening.
Yeah. If you look at one of my favorite shows or channels on YouTube is Grapevine TV. And they do an excellent job of talking about, just really about a lot of different things. And so they talked about just that kind of crime within the UK. And so, that's a great channel to watch. I think the other thing too, as far as with what we've seen happen after the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, is that it was so visual, right? It was so visual, and I think that there was no way that you could explain that away, right? There was,
Exactly. There. It
and
was
the
all
video,
caught on
yeah,
camera.
before he even hit the ground, like there's no other narrative that could have been created. And so I think that, and then when we saw the visual of Ahmaud Arbery, I think it
Mhm.
was just like, and then too, to recognize that these men who murdered Ahmaud Arbery had actually gotten away with it. It was only because that video was released and went viral that then people started looking at that case again. So I
Mhm.
think that it's also this: we want fair and equal justice, right? We want people to be held responsible equally for
Equally, exactly.
crimes. So
Well, let's just take a couple comments. I saw some pop up. I wasn't able to acknowledge when they did. So let's see. And yes, Alicia says hi. Thank you for watching, Alicia. And Sebastian had said, "Fight, yeah, bring it on." And Ruth says, "Amazing show
thank
and
you.
a very relevant topic to take up. Honestly, thank you so much." So we've been talking about the Black Lives Matter movement here with my guest Lataye Davis. I'm Alicia Curry, the host of the Audacious Confidence Show, and in this segment, the next segment, we're going to talk more about the women's role in when there's any kind of these movements that's happening. Women are always, if not at the forefront, they are really the ones that are supporting and do the groundwork, and their boots on the ground, right? Women
Absolutely,
are and
absolutely.
where do you see women's role in this particular movement right now?
Well, again, we know that the movement was spearheaded and started, I think, just really organically by the three women that I mentioned before, and you even mentioned in the description of the show. And the thing is this is so amazing, because I was thinking it, and someone said it on the grapevine, is, you said this is a great time for Black women to get get their boots on the ground and really settle in, and really push a movement. But I have to say that I think that Black women have done enough, and I think that this is a season for women, Black women, to start looking at collaboration, and affiliation. Right?
Hmm.
We're always really the lead, and I'm going to say right quick to the comments that are now going viral from really 50 Cent. But of course, Lil Wayne was in on that conversation too, where there was this conversation about Black women being upset about Black men dating exotic women. And so I think that when you ask what is the role now of the Black woman within the Black Lives Matter movement, this is where we end up being pulled in so many different directions, right? And I think we talked about this. The thing about it is, I want Black women, or I charge Black women with whatever platform it is that you've created, whatever it is that you're doing now within your community. It's time for you to stop holding that baby like it's yours and can't nobody else burp it. People know how to burp babies. People know how to change Pampers. You just got to find the right folks that know how to change the pamper timely so nobody gets a diaper rash and stuff don't spread and get worse. But it is time, because we are so set on holding stuff to ourselves. If you really want to see your movement push forward, if you really want to see people's lives impacted, this
See
is the
action.
time, yeah, this is the time for you to start collaborating. And I'm going to tell you, collaboration doesn't always mean people that look like you, right? That's
Oh, yes.
crazy. You should be collaborating with women who believe, think, have the same thought as you, who have the same desire as you. We just launched the new year of United States of Women, and as I was scrolling and looking at all my other sisters that are from different states that are saying, I'm going to lead the charge in my state, I was like, man, these some bad mama jammas. I've got some bold, crazy sisters. And that's what it's about. They don't have to look like you. The second thing is that I need for our Black men to do better. I need for 50 Cent to do better. I need for T.I. to do better. I need for Lil Wayne to do better. Because whether you want us or not, at the end of the day, we're going to stand right up at the front for you. We're going to fight for you. Give us enough respect to understand that we're going to fight for you. And then we need you to be willing to fight for us. We don't have to be your boo. I don't need to be your babe, but I am your Black queen, whether you know me or not. So we need our Black men to do better, and we need for our families to start making better decisions, right?
Yeah,
So
I like how you say families because there are two things I wanted to say, but the first thing is the roles of mothers in this particular time and space. Because while we're hearing the conversation about parents having to sit their Black children down and have the talk with them about if a police stops you or if something, this is what you need to do. Um, what is, do you believe, the role as a mother to raise men up, raise our sons up to be um, to become those, oops, hit the mic, those responsible and men that will take care of the community?
um so one is that I implore mothers to recognize that just because it happened to you doesn't mean that it has to happen to your children or to your child. So let's just say that your mama always struggled to pay the bills, and then generationally you struggled to pay the bills, right? And you did whatever you needed to do to feed the family and make sure the bills were paid. That, whatever that was, if it wasn't something that was maybe law abiding, right? You did what you needed to do. My thing is that we should be raising our children to do better than us, because this is
Always.
the thing is, oddly enough, I do believe that there's opportunity out there even for brown and Black folk. The difference is, are you going to be the type of parent to make sure that folks know you know that, and then command and demand that they give your child the same opportunity? You understand what I'm saying? You
Mhm.
can say, look, my child has a 3.8 GPA, and your 3.8 GPA child could either be still on the streets, or your child could be in a program that all you have to do is get the paperwork filled out or get help filling that paperwork out. And I don't care that he might be or she may be the only Black or brown person in that group. Guess what? Your child deserves to be there. When my daughter went through Leadership Lauderdale here in my local city, she was the only Black student, but she was the only Black student. Because and why that is, I don't know, but I can tell you that I knew that she had it in her to be excellent. She's an amazing leader. So I'm just asking mothers to please, I get it, you're hurt from, you're bruised, you're damaged maybe, but don't pass it
Put
on to your child.
put them in a better situation than you were in.
But you have to want that for your child, right? Because
And
I
and and a lot of women do. I see, and a lot of them, a lot of mothers really, especially in sports, they put their sons in sports knowing that that is a path that could potentially present a better opportunity for them. But we need to go beyond the athlete.
But see, I have an issue. The only issue I have with sports is, I mean, I have my own mindset about sports, especially football, right? Um, my issue is that I'm gonna shout out some of these dang Meridian, Mississippi darn parents, because we had some young collegiate football players from my home city who were actually drafted by the NFL. But what I will tell you is those boys were in those books. And so I don't care how far your son throws the ball, how hard he hits the ball, how
Make
many
sure they
home
get their education while they're there.
the education is what's going to help them to not get pimped out of their money, to not get a contract that really doesn't suit them. It's also going to help them to realize, what should I do? Should I buy a chain, or should I invest in a wing stop like Rick Ross did? I mean, should I,
Exactly.
should I be drinking up and partying up all of my money, or should I go over here and get this real estate, get this
Start a
commercial?
business over here. While I got this going on, I could start a business over here and have both
Let
working
me
for
go
me.
and pay off the, let me go on and buy this house. I don't
Hmm.
want to pay a mortgage on it, right? And
Right.
it's not saying that they still can't enjoy their money, but it's about making wise decisions. And I can tell you right now, those numbers are not going to be understandable if he's not getting his education, or she is not getting her education.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, see, I was one of those parents that
Ask
paid
somebody.
everything. But the thing about it now is, people don't like for you to ask questions. I get it. And they make you feel uncomfortable even coming up to the school. If you don't know, you ask somebody.
You
Ask
better
them,
ask
ask
somebody.
somebody. Ask
Ask
somebody.
somebody, baby.
Don't you allow nobody to take away your child's future from them because they don't want to tell you. If they don't tell you the answer, baby, there's somebody out there,
Go to somebody else. Go to some.
somebody you don't even know, and they'll tell you.
And don't go with an attitude or fight. Just ask. And if they don't want to help you, ask somebody else. That's all. Um, and the other thing, I said two things. The second thing is, you're talking about collaboration, and you're talking about whatever you're passionate about. On the news this past week, I saw that two women of color started in the fashion community because they realize there's not enough representation in the fashion industry in the higher levels of people of color, and so they started the Black Fashion Council
Yeah.
to raise awareness and get that representation at higher levels, in not just in the media, fashion media, but also designers and owners of companies, fashion companies, and to start getting more representation in those positions. So that's just speaking to what you're saying. If you're passionate about something, do something about it. Don't just wait for someone else to do it. Jump up and do it.
And you think about, we started with, of course, Naomi Campbell, Tyra Banks, Beverly Johnson, I think,
Beverly Johnson, yeah,
Beverly
back in the
Johnson
day.
back in the day. And so I think that, as these women say there's a need, then you have to wonder what was so sad. And I thought about this when Tyra Banks was talking about a relationship with Naomi Campbell, was that there was so much pitting them against each other, right? For bookings and everything. And so we have to be really good stewards of our community and of our relationships, because this is not new that there's not enough diversity in the beauty industry. Although Black women spend more money on cosmetics and makeup, it is a 6.1 billion dollar industry, and yet there's still not enough representation. And so the thing is that we have to recognize that when we come to the table, the thing about it is it doesn't always have to be confetti and kumbaya. Sometimes you need somebody at that table, like Alicia, like she said, when we talked about the topic, we we had a different, it's crazy because we had a
Different
different
angles,
idea about it, but the result was still the same.
the
We
same.
still
We
wanted
were
the
coming
same
at it
information.
from different points of view.
Absolutely. And so what I see with especially women of color is we won't even sit at the table with someone who may have a different perspective because we don't want to hear it. And then when we don't hear it from them, we either will never hear it and it will never help us to grow or scale our business, our idea, ourselves,
Hmm.
or we'll get in a room with people who don't look like us and then we got to hear it. And then more than likely, we're going to end up giving up more equity and stake in our company because they're going to say, "Oh, well, we need to grow you in that area. You never developed in people who are like you."
Correct.
um I think collaboration is important, and I really think that we can really make some
Learn and
huge
grow.
strides. Yeah, yeah.
Wowsy,
Have good
wowsy.
folks on
So,
your team. You gotta
so
have them.
far, this has been such a great conversation, lady.
It is.
And you touched on a minute ago, which is going to take me into the next segment. So you are watching not Women Unleashed. Oh my gosh, you know what?
They
I'm gonna
busy.
edit that out.
Okay. They doing it.
And I'm looking right at it. You're watching Audacious Confidence, the Audacious Confidence show here with me, your host, Alicia Curry, and Lataye Wonderful Davis, who
Oh,
has taken my maiden name from me. Lataye
oh,
Davis, yes. We're sisters,
oh. See,
sisters from another mister.
see.
And so we we've been talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. We've been talking about women's role in raising up our children to within this environment, to really educate them and have them be responsible human beings here. And also we've been talking about the role of women, just women in general, making strides in this time. Like, what are
Yeah,
you doing to elevate
yeah,
this
yeah,
movement? What are you doing to elevate each other? What are we doing to really collectively bring this up?
yeah.
And as we move into the third segment, which we're going to be talking about,
Mm,
where education is being attacked right
mhm.
now, and affirmative action is being attacked. But before I get into that, I just wanted to bring back something that came to my mind when we were talking in the earliest segment, the first segment, about whether someone is of the same color as you or looks like you, how we can elevate one another. When we were talking about actually what the Black Lives Matter movement means, I saw today this little girl. She was a 9-year-old girl, and she took her sidewalk chalk and she wrote Black Lives Matter, like what they were doing with the big murals on the streets.
Yeah,
So in her neighborhood, she wrote that down the center of the street in sidewalk chalk. And a neighbor called the police on her,
yeah,
called the cops on her. It's a little white girl. And she wrote it down because she said she didn't know how else to express how sad it made her. So she wanted to do something. So
yeah,
she wrote it on her street. And one of the neighbors called the police on her for doing it. And the police rolled up and said, "It's chalk." you
yeah.
know
So
what's
what?
the big deal?
Yeah,
It's chalk. And because the neighbor did that, other kids, not just in her neighborhood, but other kids came from all around and started writing it every day. They would come out and write it on the street. If it got washed away, they'd come back and write. And she said, every day I'm going to write it back on the street because it's an important message for everyone. A 9-year old, she's
yeah.
saying this is an important message for everyone to really start being aware of. And she
And
cried when the woman called the cops on her, and she's like, I don't understand why she's so upset about it.
I, I don't even want to get into that commercial, but I do remember the commercial or the video of the two little boys running towards each other. the little black boy and the white boy, and they're running. And honestly, I think I am so blessed to have been able to form these amazing friendships with some of the dopest people on the planet, whether in the military and outside. Definitely in the military. I mean, I've served alongside people from different countries, ethnicities, and races. So I've got bomb friends. Okay, we love each other. Like we
Oh
gonna
yeah.
protect each other regardless. I don't care what your skin color is. And so, and so when you mention that, I'm not even tripping over the lady, because this love and this camaraderie and this respect and this I want to play with my friend, I don't care what their skin looks like, type, like we gonna patty cake until
Yeah.
like, we're gonna play tag, or what's that movie?
Yeah.
Tag with the guys that did it. Like we're gonna do that, and
But
you're just gonna have to be mad, and that's just what it
and
is.
I
And
think that's where change is going to happen systemically. I think that's where when our not just the next generation, but the generation after that is seeing what's happening and they are responding to it in such a powerful way that they're saying, not on my watch. You
nah,
know,
yeah, that's my
it
friend.
stops here. Like
We play together every day.
I'm not going to allow life to start changing me because I don't think they will because they have a consciousness of it now. It's
and
been
you
put in their minds consciously.
I think too that there is like this. I was thinking about even with your daughter show about this intersection of generations, right? And so there's potentially this generation of people whom are holding on to what they
Old
value, those
beliefs.
beliefs, right? And so then there are those generations after them that they taught this to. But I just believe that in this space and in this time when we're just talking about humanity, right? We're just talking about humanity.
Yeah.
That what you're talking about is so absurd and so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's going to be so antiquated that I think when you do it, people are gonna look at you like, "What are you doing?
What are you talking about? Yep.
What are you
And I think
doing?"
that's the most powerful thing of raising this awareness and it's not just black lives but any minority, women in as well. There's a heightened awareness of it all now. And I don't want to run out of time before we talk about how the laws are changing because you and I had this discussion and I had no idea about this. I had no idea. So talk about that a little bit, how the laws are changing for education and experience.
Well, I saw that there's this law that is was signed, and basically when my friend posted it, people liked the post, and I said, "But you're not thinking right." So we understand that affirmative action was put in place to give Black people specifically, but people of color actually benefit from affirmative action, a fair opportunity, whether it's in the workplace or wherever, right? And so this law would say, "Hey, well." Now we're not going to look at your credentials as much as we're going to look at your skill. And so I was telling Alicia, I said, but that's going to push a reverse of really affirmative action, but in a different direction. And I say that because for people of color, if we wanted to be on as equal of a playing field as much as possible, for especially in Black communities, going to college is important, right? Getting a trade is important, but getting a degree is important because that shows on paper that you know what you're talking about. And so I gave Alicia the example of someone of a non-person of color who may have worked in her mother or her dad's accounting firm for ever since they were 16, maybe, doing little stuff here and there. And then you have a student, a person of color, Latina or Black, who went to school, got a degree in accounting, probably was in their first year out on the market trying to get their job in their degree. Then what is going to happen? Now, if we're going by skill, then that degree no longer matters because this person over
The
here who
tenure that they have.
that isn't about the tenure. So because even though that person never got a degree, but decided, you know what, I'm starting a family, or I just want to be off on my own. I'm tired of working for my daddy. I want to go work for somebody else, another firm. And they do an application. Well, because they worked with their dad ever since they were 16, if we're going by skill, it could be presumed that they have more skill than this person who went to college and just graduated from college with that degree. So I was telling her that that lends to reverse affirmative action, because now they can say, or an individual can say, well, I was discriminated against, and I wasn't given the job and I had more skill. The only reason I don't like that is because I think it lends to too much free thought. I
Nepotism.
think it lends to too much of judgment of who should I hire. I think the thing about your education and about your certifications and about that stuff you have on paper is that it can't be disputed, right? So when
Correct.
you're going up against someone and the way you show up, right? And when we start saying, well, we're going to go in for skill versus knowledge, then we open up, to me, this Pandora's box of, well, I'm gonna hire. It lends to what we've been fighting so hard to get away from, in my perception, and
So
it's
you're saying that there's no more level playing field. There will be no level playing field because it will be so subjective
so
in the
subjective.
hiring process.
Yeah.
Again, go back to subjective hiring.
Yes. Yeah. And then what latitude does that give you? If this is something that's now in law, it's law.
It's the one.
It's not a community thing. It's not a company thing. It's a law. Then how do you dispute a law that says I'm going to go by your skill versus your education? Because now
Which
it doesn't matter how much education on paper you have.
you have, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier about, the athletes getting a college education, and if they stay in school to get that education, whether they get a, a contract with the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, or whatever professional league it is, now they have this degree, but they were busy getting their degree and playing sports
Playing a
when
sport.
someone else was out there just working for their dad or working for the family business. And now both of us are the same age coming out, and you are now subject to whoever's hiring to say, well,
Yeah,
oh, I
yeah,
want to hire you.
yeah. And I think about it too, even when it comes down to veterans, as a veteran myself, it's very difficult for civilians to kind of understand the level of experience that we've had.
I
And
remember
so,
you talking about that.
yeah, and so when a lot of it, for me, when I came out of the military with honorable discharge, I was minimum wage, entry level positions I was offered. And, here I am, I've led 200, 300 soldiers. And I mean, it's a lot. We're talking about accountability, just a lot. And so
Organizational skills,
organizational
yeah,
skills, time management, project
strategy,
management,
strategic planning,
and
everything,
you talking about staff management, employee management. And
leadership training.
and what happens too is that sometimes the folks looking at your resume are like, this is too heavy. And they're probably then a little bit nervous about their own position. Because if I hire this person, right, at what point will I be a little bit nervous about maybe they're going to kind of be a little bit more effective? It's just they read you on paper and they're like, nah, because they might come from my position. And so I think that when you have that skilled versus at least some credentials to back that up, I think that will happen too. It's like, nah, I, you got that degree, you went and got all that education, and you're very, you got it together. Nah, I'm gonna go
And you still might not win out because of someone else with the experience,
or the
the actual
connection,
experience,
and
or the
you have never
connections,
done all of what that job required. But we
or the
see that even
connections.
today, right?
I
We
think
see
that's the biggest danger that you had highlighted, that someone with the connections can get a position over someone with the actual credentials.
And I
So
think that law, it makes it difficult for you to then, if you
to
wanted to
then go back
say,
and fight
wait
it.
a minute, nope, exactly, right?
Yeah,
And so, because we know that happens even now,
yeah,
but there's this level of, I don't want no issue. I don't want any issues with this, with people I didn't choose, right?
yeah,
And so it makes it difficult for you to go and say, well, wait a minute. Especially if
yeah,
you do it with a group of folk, or you somehow or another, it starts a rumble that, wait, that happened to me too. Well, that happened to
yeah.
me too.
You have no recourse.
Yeah.
Well, I got to shut this down. As wonderful as this conversation is going, I know it's,
And we
I mean,
didn't
when you brought that
battle.
up, huh?
We didn't battle. We didn't
We did
battle.
not. We
No.
did not at all. This was cool. I think we battled pre-show. That was to make sure we understood each other.
Right, exactly, exactly. But sometimes that's what you got to do to still be able to come to the table with
Yes,
we both realize we still want the same
we
result.
still want the same thing because this
That was
whole
the
affirmative
result.
action thing was really confusing to me, and I got it. I really understood when you explained it that way.
Listen,
So,
don't
but
vote
that
for Kanye West.
we can go deeper with that too on another show. So listen, Lataye, as always, I love having you on, and I'm so thankful for you, sister, dropping all this wonderful knowledge and point of view and helping us to see things differently. And I
Thank you
really
for
appreciate
helping
you.
me to see stuff differently too. We do the same. We do it for each other. I
Awesome.
love y'all.
Love you too. Mwah. Stay in the green room. I'll be seeing you soon.
I'm like,
So that was a very interesting conversation and very open and honest with Lataye Davis. And this is, again, if you want to be a guest on Dreamaniac TV, it was scrolling across, please go to dreamaniac.com and click on the Be a Guest so you can sign up to be a guest just like Lataye here on one of our shows. And that wraps it up for me tonight on the Audacious Confidence Show. Alicia Curry here saying goodbye. And please, please, please remember to always step out in audacious confidence. Sorry, let me say that again. Step out boldly with audacious confidence to live the life of your dreams. And here on Dreamaniac TV, we say, you dream big and we make it happen. Good night, everybody. Hi, Alicia Curry here. If you enjoyed that episode of the Audacious Confidence Show, check out more on this channel. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you hit that notification button, you won't miss a single episode.